Hey gang, Acts chapter 5 is on the dock for today, so get yourself a Bible, a notebook to write down notes as I'm talking, get yourself some coffee, and Acts chapter 5 is where we're at, journeying through together. So at the end of Acts chapter 4, they are seeing God rock their city, just like we're seeing God rock Saginaw and Midland, and this fall, Bay City, y'all. And unleash his generosity. At the end of Acts chapter 4, this guy named Joseph, who shows up later in the book of Acts by his nickname, Barnabas, heard of him? He has a field. He's sitting on some property, so he sells that sucker. He doesn't keep a dime, he gives it all to the church. And every single dollar is used to strategically reach more people far from God. And so I'm praying that as we are putting the building blocks in place for Bay City campus, that God is working on your hearts to pray, what would it look like to give above and beyond my regular tithe? Whether it's a one-time gift, or maybe God moves in your heart to give above and beyond for like the next 3 months or the next 4 months. Because listen, Bay City, there's a lot of startup costs. We got to buy worship equipment. We got to buy kids ministry equipment. We have to get the word out, so we got to advertise. And so those startup costs, then it costs some dough. We need some Josephs. I need some Barnabases. The word Barnabas means encourager. It's encouraging when households at Life Church are sacrificial and give generously to Life Church so that we can reach more people far from God. So, Acts chapter 5, it says, there was also a man named Ananias and his wife Sapphira, and they sold some property. So that's pretty cool. They're selling property to give to the church, right? Verse 2, Ananias brought part of the money to the apostles, but he claimed it was the full amount, and his wife agreed to this deception. So have you ever been to a wax museum? Like, I was in Niagara Falls one time, and they had like this big wax museum. I was down in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach and took my kids to the wax museum. And it's interesting for the first few minutes, and then it gets creepy because it's just people frozen in time. And they're not the real person. It's like, is that Elvis Presley? No, it's a poser. How easy is it for us in our faith to pose, to be posers? We can talk a big game, but then in our inner spiritual life, we're empty. We're posers. You don't want to be a poser. Ananias and Sapphira are posers because they just saw Joseph sell his property and give 100% to the church generously, sacrificially. Ananias and his wife, they're posers because they're like, oh, me too. We're going to do that. We're going to sell property and give the whole thing to the church. And everybody's like, oh, dude, that's awesome. That's generous. God's moving. But it says that they were deceiving them, that they kept some of it back. So verse 3, Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart? See, when we say one thing but do another, we're posers. You don't have to be a poser anymore. See, at Life Church, it's okay to not be okay. Just not okay to stay that way. We can be transparent with our mistakes and our flaws, and then we can cheer each other on and encourage each other to take bigger steps of faith. So Peter's saying, dude, you're being a poser. You said one thing, you did another. That's wicked. That's actually satanic. Why'd you let Satan fill your heart? You lied to the Holy Spirit. You kept some of the money for yourself. The property was yours to sell and do as you wish, but you said one thing, you said you were going to give it all, and then you didn't give it all. You held back. You weren't lying to us, you were lying to God. And so the deal is not to guilt you about giving. That's not the issue here. The issue is, are you being authentic in your faith, or are you being a poser? We don't need wax museum Christians. We need men and women who are passionate, bold, willing to do whatever it takes to reach people in Midland and in Saginaw and then in this September in Bay City. Because we don't do church for us, we do it for them, and it takes unselfish people to build a great church. Now, Ananias gets struck dead. You're not going to get struck dead, but the idea is put to death the poser. Step into the man or woman of God you're being called to be. Let's link arms, partner together. Let's sacrifice and see what God might do. Now, this leads to more opposition from religious people, but let me leave you with this. Right? Pastor Pete, he's brought in before the religious people, the Facebook losers, the cheapest booze. The biggest boos come from the cheapest seats. So as we ramp up for Bay City, if you see people saying negative stuff online, don't respond. right? Anybody can sit in their mama's basement in pajamas eating Cheetos and say stuff online. Don't worry about it. We will always choose to outlove, outserve, outpray those who misunderstand us. So when the religious people pull Pastor Pete in front and they're, saying, you can't do this, the church, you can't do this. I love this. Someone speaks up in Acts chapter 5, verse 39. I'll leave you with this. This wise person says, listen, if what they're doing is of God, we won't be able to stop them. If it's of man, then it's going to fall apart. If this is an ego-driven effort, just leave them alone. It's going to fizzle out. But if this movement is of God, dude, it's unstoppable, and we don't want to get in the way of what God is doing. So this is to say, what we're doing, launching campuses, we're not trying to build our kingdom. We're trying to build God's kingdom. And your invitation is to let go of the mask of being a poser. Don't be in a wax museum. Join the real thing, a movement of God. You can get involved on the ground floor at Bay City campus. Just log on to lifechurchmichigan.com/Bay City. There's opportunities to serve. There's opportunities to join the launch team. And then, hey, we're going to need more help in Saginaw and Midland. If we're sending some of our best and brightest to Bay City this September, we need you to step up and to serve. And there's opportunities on our website to get involved at Midland campus and at Saginaw campus. And if we do this, gang, together, the best is yet to come.